My next patron question is from Andrew, who wanted to know my thoughts on an acclaimed Spanish filmmaker. My next question is a bit of a big one. Since last year, I've been trying out the films of acclaimed Spanish director Pedro Almodovar. So far, I've watched 4 of his films, those being Bad Education, What Have I Done to Deserve This?, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, and Pain and Glory. And so far, I've greatly enjoyed them all, and I do want to continue to explore the rest of his filmography. I do notice, much like Don Bluth and Ralph Bakshi, looking into the films of his you've seen, it's been rather mixed. Some you've really liked, for example, Volver and All But My Mother, though Talk to Her and the previously mentioned Nervous Breakdown seem to be just rather unremarkable for you. My question is this: what are your thoughts on Almodovar overall, and do you think his films are easy to understand outside of his native Spain, given how his films are deeply rooted in the Spanish culture? I guess I should start by mentioning the 7 Almodovar films I've seen, and they are Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, High Heels, All About My Mother, Talk to Her, Volver, and Broken Embraces. Some of these I like, while others I think are just okay. A lot of Almodovar films seem to revolve around very flawed individuals as they deal with family and romance. They touch on difficult themes and the lasting effects certain events can have on his characters. These are worthy subjects to explore, but I admit I do find myself at a distance with a lot of his stories and characters, especially when their actions start to become reprehensible. I'm not saying they have to be likable. The central characters in High Heels, for example, are hardly characters to root for, but I nonetheless found there was more to them than just their terrible actions. But then you have something like Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. It's meant to be a satire of romantic comedies, and depicts a film actress falling in love with her kidnapper. I never actually believed she would become infatuated with him, and it just made the whole film feel icky. Interestingly enough, Tie Me Up was actually one of the films that led to the creation of the NC-17 rating, which brings me to my next point, which is Almodovar often includes a fair amount of shock value in his movies. While I sometimes understand the point he's trying to get across, these scenes nonetheless feel like they exist to shock the audience, like the dressing room scene in High Heels or the infamous bathtub toy scene in Tie Me Up. I don't want to seem like I'm down on him though, so I do want to bring up the positives of his work. Of the movies of his I've seen, All About My Mother is probably my favorite. I think it's a film that does the best at combining his themes with its focus on the often ignored women in society and how they complement and contrast with one another, their agreements and their arguments. There's his trademark sense of humor, but also his sentimentality that works in making me invested in the characters and hoping they turn out okay. Cecilia Roth also delivers an excellent lead performance as a woman who sets out on this journey after her son is killed. Something that's often stuck with me in the Almodovar movies I've seen is his use of color. He always makes sure the Spain, as depicted in his films, is full of reds, yellows, and other attention-grabbing colors. He also knows how to position the actors in a scene, proving his keen cinematic eye. Much has been written about Almodovar's repertoire of actors, and seeing them again and again is like seeing a familiar face. As for whether his films are understandable to those who don't live in Spain, I think the themes are universal enough for them to be easily translatable. The fact that he has become renowned all over the world speaks for itself. He's even one of the rare filmmakers to win a screenwriting Oscar for non-English language film. Admittedly, I don't think I've seen enough of Almodovar's work to have a general opinion on his overall output, which is why I stuck to talking about those movies of his I have seen. But hopefully, I'll give more of his movies a chance in the future. Thank you for your question, Andrew.